Welcome to the TPC Desktop video series. In this video, we're going to take a look at Crow's Feet, a feature that's new to TPC Desktop 2018 R1. We did a sneak peek video earlier, and now we want to take a deeper look at just how Crow's Feet work. I've opened up the sample survey boundary line adjustment, and I've gone to the drawing for Lot 4 and kind of zoomed in here so you can see Lot 4. And let's just talk about turning Crow's Feet on. So I'm going to do this in the Traverse Drawing settings, so I can right-click a label and go to Traverse Drawing settings, or I set mine up so that I can just double-click it, and it opens up the Traverse Drawing settings for Lot 4. And I want you to notice that here in Control Points, I can turn on Crow's Feet, and here in Curves and Spirals, I can turn on Crow's Feet. Now let's go ahead and apply that. Okay, do you see the Crow's Feet that got turned on? So every label, okay, is generating a crow's foot. If I had these labels on the west side combined on one side of the line only, I would get just one crow's foot on that side of the line. But because they're split on both sides, I get crow's feet on both sides. So the crow's foot is tied to the label itself. Kind of a neat way of thinking about this inside of Traverse PC. And then I turn them on separately for curves and spirals because we do leaders separately there. And I turn them on separately for control points because we do leaders separately there as well. If you're interested in using them for side shots, you can turn those on as well. We're going to focus today just on the control points and the leaders. So I'm going to hit OK, and let's drop in and just take a real close look at what we've actually got here. So I've got leaders that are drawn for both labels on this curve here. And I've specified some parameters as far as how I want to draw those, and we're going to go in and take a look at those. And Traverse PC then has put those on all of the labels in this Traverse. So let's drop back in. I'm going to zoom out here just a little bit so we can kind of see a little bit better what we're doing. Okay, let's go ahead and drop into those labels again. I'm going to put this right here in the middle. And let's open up the crow's foot settings and make some changes. Now, I told Traverse PC that I want to use the default line type for crow's feet, but you can pick whatever you want from the list there. And I'm going to tell it I want these just to be a little thinner. A 0 line draws them with 1 pixel width. I want to put an arrow on them and specify the size. Now notice that the crow's feet have an angle where they go back to the point symbol or the end of the line. If I put an arrow on and it goes in that little short segment, I can also shrink it to fit that segment because that segment changes length as we move the label farther away from the line. And then this is a neat color option, just as by Traverse. So I can set this to whatever I want. I might want these to be a gray color or a silver color, okay? Or I can just say use whatever color the Traverse is using, and that's what this setting does here. So let me go ahead and hit OK and apply those. So if we take a look here now, I've got arrows on those leaders all the way around. So all the leaders in this Traverse now, wherever I look, have got arrows on them because I made that setting change. I'm going to drop right down here, and let's talk about the length of the crow's feet. I'm going to choose full length, which sets this to 0. When the crow's foot length is 0, Traverse PC says draw them full length. So now when I apply this, I get crow's feet the full length, okay? And I'm just going to drop out here real quick and show you that the crow's feet are tied to where I place this label. So if I want to move this label a little bit farther away, okay, see what it does with the crow's feet? It retains that parallel length right up until the point where it needs to put the angle in for the angle that I specified I want away from the line. And I'm going to leave that one drawn like that as we just talk about those real quick. Okay, let's drop back into the settings. So I just told Traverse PC I want the full length, but here's that angle I told you about. I've specified a 30-degree angle. What happens if I specified a 45-degree angle? Let's OK and apply that. Okay, so I've increased the angle here, and you can see I'm getting some overlap or some connection right here at the angle points in the boundary. So I really like to pick an angle here that gives me a little more separation. I think you're going to like something around 30. you just get more separation in the corners there. So that's what that angle is all about. And then I can have the arrows point toward the label or away from the label. So let's OK that and apply. So now the arrows are all pointing toward the label. And I'm just going to drop out here real quick so you can kind of see what that looks like. Let's zoom in and over here again. So here my arrows are going from the anchor point of the crow's feet toward the label, or I could specify them the other way. Kind of a neat way to do that. Okay, let's go ahead and go back in. And now let's talk about the angle here and how we want to draw that. I'm going to tell Traverse PC to put those back. And then let's take a look at this. I right now have a fillet. I have an angle there. And I can specify a fillet radius. And this is going to be something probably pretty small. I think you're going to find 1/10 of an inch, maybe 2/10 of an inch are going to be just about right. Let's go ahead and K that and drop in. And I went ahead and maybe I'll just leave this drawn big like this for just a minute while we kind of look this over. Here's that little bit of angle at the fillet, okay? And it looks pretty good with curves, but remember we're doing a reverse curve here from clockwise to counterclockwise on the inside, on the outside a compound curve. And to cut down on the computations, Traverse PC kind of makes some approximations for those. And so you might see just a little wavering with that. Let's go back into the settings and let's take a look at the curve option. The curve option says, no matter what I've specified here for a radius, fit kind of the maximum in there. So let's OK that, hit OK. So now I see these kind of longer sweeping radiuses here. And if I back out, you can see because I'm farther away, I get a little bit bigger radius. Because this label is close, I get a smaller radius. So if you like that look and want them to change with kind of how that goes, put that curve in there. If you want to stick with the specified radius, so they all have the same radius, then use that fillet, specify the radius that you want. And then you'll see, regardless of how far I pull these away, I'm always going to get that same, let me grab that here. I'm always going to get that same kind of radius in there. And it's really just all up to you. It's kind of what you want. It's how you want these things to look in here. I'm going to just see if there's any other settings we want to talk about. I'm going to set these back to a specific length. I think the default is 3/10 of an inch arrows away from the label, 30-degree angle. And I don't know that we specify any fillet radius for the defaults. Let's OK that, come back. And now we have those crow's feet, kind of like we're used to seeing. And I think you'll have fun kind of playing around with what happens when I move labels, you know, closer to, farther away. I see those crow's feet change automatically. So all of you that were drawing those are going to say, wow, this is way better. I get to just say draw them and it takes care of it for me. Now, the next thing I want to do here real quick, I did all of this through the Traverse drawing settings. But I want to create an object that I'm drawing myself. So let's just go ahead and maybe offset this line. And let's go 10 feet over and put it on this side. Okay, so we've got a survey line over here. And I'm going to drop into the drawing settings. And I want to label this. So it's going to label it distance and direction. And I'm splitting those above and below with that little piping in there. So that's how I'm going to label it. And I'm going to look at the crow's feet settings also. I want arrows on there. I want these to be not black, but I want them to be gray. Okay. And I want to have this little bit of a fillet in here. And I want them to be 3/10 of an inch. And the arrows pointing away from the label. So we're going to go ahead and label this line and add the crow's feet for it. So I right-click the line, and I go to Modify Objects, and I say Label It. So now I have my labels on there. I can right-click one label at a time and tell it to turn on crow's feet, but I'm going to select both of these. There's the first one. There's the second one. And I right-click to tell I was done selecting. So I could have used a cross or window and selected a whole bunch of labels if I wanted to. And then I put the cursor over one of the selected labels, and I right-click. Now I can say, turn crow's feet on, and Traverse PC draws those crow's feet. And I just want to drop in real quick so we can kind of see that I got the settings just the way I wanted from the drawing settings. So if I come into the drawing settings and I say, oh, I wanted the real thin line for that, and I want those all to be just a little bit longer, okay, I can apply those and get the changes that I want for the crow's feet. So kind of neat. I'm going to stick a little fillet in here just because I might want them to look kind of like the other ones did. These are stored with the drawing templates. So if I now turn around and save this drawing as a template and I reuse that template, the crow's feet will pop up exactly like this. In the Traverse settings, they are stored with the Traverse drawing settings. Let's bring this up again. All these settings that I saved here, okay, if I were to save these settings under something, those crow's feet settings get saved with all the other control point settings, all the other side shot settings, all the other curve and spiral settings. So you set it up the way that you want your crow's feet to look, and Traverse PC will just track that along with you all the time. So there's a deeper dive look at crow's feet. I hope you enjoy them. I hope they make drawing more fun inside Traverse PC, because it's one less thing you have to do manually. And one more thing, you just get to hit a button and boom, there they are.